Hello and welcome to the Doctors Are In Scrapbooking video series. This is a collaboration series with Irit Landgraf and myself, Mercy Tiara or Tracy Banks. We're two scrappers who happen to be doctors in our real lives. I'm a psychologist and Irit is a physician. And we have two different takes on solutions to what ails your creative body and soul. And so this week we're talking about rejuvenation therapy. So we're working with older supplies and trying to mix them in with newer supplies. So I have a video that is linked below that shows the kit that I picked out. I'm using the Olivia collection from Basic Grey, which is a collection from 2010. I also have some papers here from 2009 as well. So these are all the Olivia collection right here. And I'm just having a look through them to see which papers I think will work well with this photo that I have picked out. My challenge here is that the blue in the water is different than the blue in this paper. And so I went into my stash, and this is also from Basic Grey, coincidentally. This is from the Aurora collection, which is from 2014. And so I like how the navy blue in that picks up on the blue in the water, but then the stars on that pattern paper are a more of a turquoisey blue color. And so it pulls in some of the turquoise that's in the collection that will be showing up in my layout. So I have these Basic Grey Basics collection, which are from 2009, and I have 4 sheets of that paper in my kit here for this rejuvenation series, and I'm just cutting off the manufacturer's strip, and you'll see that these are basic white backgrounds. They're ledger papers and grid papers and so on, but they have quite a grungy look, quite a bit grungier than what is my current style. And so one way to freshen up and brighten up anything it is to add white to it. And so I just have some gesso here. And you see me, I just kind of dripped it on, and now I'm just sludging it on with my little palette knife, and I'm putting it on the places that have the most of that kind of gritty, distressed look to it. So where most of the black is, and certainly a large chunk in the center. I wanted the center behind where my layers are going to go to be quite white compared to the rest of the paper. So that was golden gesso, and I just have a Tri-Art mat that I use, Tri-Art palette, and just drying it off there and going to get back to work now. So I am going to just heat set that so that it'll dry a little bit faster. I did put a bit of a thicker coat of gesso on this than I normally put on a cardstock background or a pattern paper background because I wanted it to be quite white. And so it's quite messy, but I figure that, and I left the streaks in it, like as I kept on moving it around as it dried so that it wouldn't be a really pristine application of the gesso. I wanted it to be a messy application. So there are marks in it from where the credit card was kind of just making ridges in it. And so here I'm thinking about using 4 different pattern papers behind this photo. And so I just have to think about what those 4 patterns will be. This is one of my go-to scrapbook page designs, which is having a photo with some strips of pattern paper layered behind it in kind of vertical strips that create one large horizontal element of stripes of paper. And so this is something that if you follow me, you will have seen me do this before because I really like this design. What I like about it is that it allows you to showcase lots of different patterns on a single page. And so I'm making it so that 2 of those strips are wider and 2 of them are longer and narrower, just to just kind of add some variation. I'm flipping the paper around because I'm going to put a side strip, and this side strip is something that I've been inspired. I've been using this a little bit more lately, and I've been inspired by Irit, actually. She does this a lot. Now, I'm so sorry because I accidentally turned off my camera and didn't turn it back on again. So I'm just showing you some of what I did while the camera was not rolling, and I'm very, very sorry about that. So I took my golden gesso and well, first of all, I outlined around the outside edges of all of those strips of paper, and I double outlined it with a medium point Pitt pen from Faber-Castell, and then I glued all the pieces together, like to one another, so that they were all overlapped, and I glued these two strips down the side, which I mentioned is something that I've been kind of inspired or copying it from Irit. And then I took my gesso again, and I just used a dry paintbrush, and I just swiped some gesso back and forth and back and forth. I concentrated it so that there was more over on the left-hand side because my photo is going to be there. So most of that is going to be covered. So that's why it kind of tapers out so that there's less over on the left-hand side, because that's going to be more exposed. So that's what happened when the camera wasn't rolling. I'm so sorry. I try to capture my entire process and leave it all in for you guys. But, you know, outlining is not the most exciting part of a project. So I guess if I was going to skip something, I'm glad it was the outlining part. So here I am at my sewing machine, and what I'm doing is I'm sewing some back and forth zigzaggy stitches, and I want it to be messy, and I basically just want it to zig and zag up and down all of these strips of paper. And I'm alternating, not really alternating, but I'm mostly using a straight stitch, and then every once in a while I'm throwing in a zigzag stitch. And so just kind of, I make it so that the needle is in the page, and then I lift up when I come to the end, I just lift up the foot, flip the page around, leaving the needle right in the page, and then I keep on sewing. So that allows me to have one continuous piece of sewing that goes all the way up and down without stopping and cutting my threads and so on and so on. And so I really like how that looks. It adds just a tiny bit of extra texture to the page without cluttering it and distracting from what's ultimately going to go over top of that splotch of gesso that's over my pattern papers. So now the reason that I outlined around the edges of those pattern papers is to bring them together, because they are quite different patterns. They're all from the same collection, so they all work very well together. I'm just going to run those same zigzags across the opposite the perpendicular direction. And so the outlining allows those papers to just look like they belong and pulls them all together. It also defines them as 4 separate pieces of paper. And then the sewing and the texture also kind of make it seem like one element here. And the gesso, I guess the reason that I added the gesso was to have to make it a little bit brighter, to compensate for the fact that this page is quite a bit more black distressed than what I usually put on my pages, and so the white gesso compensates for that. But it also tones down the patterns that will be in the place that I'm ultimately going to put some embellishments. I just haven't picked them yet, and probably my title will go over there. I'm adding 1 layer of vellum here, just as one extra level of texture and interest. And now I have this frame, and I really like the white bubbly edges on it, and I just have to poke out all the little circles in the inside of those bubbly circles that go around the edge of the frame. And I think that this is going to make a really nice, interesting frame. But see how it's a little bit too big? It's also too small in some ways, but I don't mind that it doesn't go all the way to the top, but I'd like it to not be quite as long. So I just cut it in the middle where my photo is going to cover the seam, and then I overlapped it. So now it's a little bit hard for you to see, but what that does is it puts that white bubbly border all the way around 3 edges of my photo. So that bubbly border will not be along the top edge, but it'll be everywhere else. So now this sticker on the Olivia sheet of stickers stood out as something that I could design a title around. So I picked it out. It's a pink lined journaling element. And I thought I could put my title, and where I'm at right now, I just ran over to my Razcog and pulled out just a selection of black foam letter stickers. And they were all together because I use these letter stickers a lot. I love black foam letter stickers. And this is one really great way to update a page, is to use a more modern font or a more current or trendy font. And so this is Afterglow from Amy Tangerine. And I am so in love with black letter stickers, black foam letter stickers. You guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, but nothing pops more and makes your title more legible than black foam letter stickers most of the time. So I thought about using 2 hearts there between dive and in, but it seemed like there was just too much separation, so I just decided to use 1. So this is my title, and I have it set out here on this waxed paper so that I can play around with placement a little bit. I'm just going to slip those foam letter stickers back into their packaging. I repackage all of my thickers, and I have a video that talks about it. I'll link it in the information section. I'll actually link it in a card. And so here I am just, again, trying to get that brush script onto the page because that will update this page. And I really like these phrases. So I grabbed this one that says, "Life is now." And this page is basically just going to be about diving into life and having fun. And and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I do the journaling. So see how that gesso just provides a little bit of a faded white, it's almost like a white glow underneath of the photo and the title, and ultimately the embellishments will go down underneath of that title. So here are those tassels from the Cute Girl collection that I thought would make a nice addition to this page. One of them just has a little stray piece that keeps flipping out the wrong way. So I'm just playing around with that. And I thought I'd put the pink one up in the top and the black and white one down here because there's already going to be lots of colorful elements here. So I'm going to stagger some bows here below the "Life is Now." I'm going to take 3 different bows, and I'm going to do a little bit of switcherooing here. But I'm going to end up with these 3 bows at this staggered interval, I guess, below my title, and that provides the main structure of this part of the layout of this cluster of embellishments, is those 3 bows that kind of go zigzaggy down. I'm looking through the Cute Girl die cut pieces, and I'm pulling out some potential die cuts to audition for different parts on this page, and really only the unicorn one is going to stay, and you're not even going to see that it says unicorn. I thought that this arrow pointing to Olivia would work really well there in the pool, and so I will talk a little bit more about that when I put it down. And then using those bows, so there's 1 in the top and then 3 down here in the main cluster. I'm using those bows to structure everything else that I add to the page. And so I'm putting at least 1 star beside each of the bows. And then I'm going to take a look at some of these chipboard pieces and think about whether I can put a chipboard piece every here and there, or maybe around each of the bows. And then I'm going to take a black phrase sticker. These are chipboard phrase stickers from the Freckled Fawn Oh Dear Me kit from September, which was a black and white kit. It was awesome. My favorite kit ever. And I'm going to put 1 of these black phrase chipboard stickers beside each of the bows as well. So again, I'm using those bows to structure everything else. And I don't want to go too overboard on this, especially when I spread embellishments out around on a page instead of overlapping them with each other. I like to be restrained when I do that, just so that it doesn't look too cluttered up. I want it to look more intentional, like it was, instead of, just throwing stuff everywhere. So I have my Tombow Mono multi-adhesive, and I just keep it in a narrow roll of, it's actually like a wide roll of washi, but the center of it is a narrow center, and it holds my my Tombow Mono multi-adhesive upside down, so because it's liquid, and it keeps it all in the tip where it needs to be because I'm running out. So I need to start gluing things down now because I've got a lot of stuff and it's time just to get moving on it. So I started by just adhering my photo down. And now I'm going to take my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive and put all of these little stars down, which is a different order for me. Normally I would have put those stars down last because they're the thing that kind of should look scattered around. But because of the way that I'm structuring these things around the bows, I know where these stars are going to go. And it's easiest and for me to put these down now so that the Tombow Mono Multi liquid adhesive will have a chance to dry as I'm putting the other pieces together. So see, I'm sticking that unicorn embellishment all the way in there. And that's going to be a home for the, I don't know if you've noticed, but this collection is called Olivia and my daughter's name is Olivia. So I'm actually going to take a little piece of this collection that has the title on it and stick it in, but I actually forgot to do that. So it's done off screen. You'll see it in the photos at the end. So now I just use the sticker to, I put the Life Is Now on the pink circle sticker, and now I am just using again that wax paper to guide me in the placement of my letter stickers, and I really like how that title looks. And I'm referring to my picture. I snapped a shot of it before I took it all, before I started to adhere everything down so that I could remember where everything was supposed to be placed. Now those little embellishment stars, they have a bit of a concave back on them. So you have to put a little pool of glue underneath of them just to make sure that the glue is sticking to both the paper and to the star. And so that's why I'm being a little bit more liberal with my Tombow Mono Multi than I usually am. That is super strong glue, and normally you can be very sparse with it. Sparse is that you can just be very conservative with it, like not use very much. But in this case, I have to use a little bit more. And I'm just using it on the backs of everything. Sometimes the backing comes off of those, especially if you try to reposition them, those chipboard phrase stickers. And so if that's the case, I just use some Tombow Mono Multi to hold them down. And now I have to decide what I'm going to do about this tassel. I feel like it needs to be attached to the page with something. And I didn't want the pink brad. That's again the brads from the Cute Girl collection. Didn't want the pink one because there's already a lot of pink around there. So I'm going to use the mint green one. It says Kiss Me, which is really not appropriate. In fact, it's definitely not appropriate for Olivia because she hates kissing. So even she's also like too old. We don't like smother her in kisses anymore. She would probably kill us if we did that. Daggers would come out of her eyeballs. So anyhow, I covered the Kiss Me with a little enamel heart that also came from the Freckled Fawn. And now I'm gluing this really large sequin arrow here because of the darkness in the pool. And also I think it works because of the darkness in the pool. It's not a real harsh element to stick there. I'm using my ruler to do some pre-drawn lines. I'm so annoyed with my journaling constantly floating either up or down that I'm just deciding I'm just going to put lines every time just so I can go ahead and have it be straight. So I think the arrow works there because the darkness of the pool makes it okay. I cut out that word Olivia and I forgot to put it on, but I'll put it on later and you'll see it in the photos. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So my journaling says the best part of vacations is going in the pool, ? And then in quotations it says yep. And I also really like the arrow on the photo there because there's actually a phrase that I wrote on the photo. It's digitally on the photo. It says, so take a deep breath and let it go. It's words from a Justin Bieber song that they were actually listening to. We had the pool almost to ourselves in this hotel. It was to ourselves 99% of the time that we were in it. And so we were playing music down there because there was no one there to bother. I'm writing Bedeck, October 2016, just in my own handwriting there. And so So yeah, I wanted to draw attention to the phrase that it is in the pool. It's very, very subtle. And I think adding that arrow just draws your attention. It points to Olivia, who is the subject, and it draws your attention to the fact that there's some writing above it. So this is my other Try Art palette, and it's a non-stick palette, and I use it for splashing ink. I have Liquitex ink here in black. And I like this ink because it dries on gesso a little bit better than the Heidi Swapp Mist and the Studio Calico Mist do. I'm just taking a paintbrush to splatter it, and I'm being pretty restrained. I'm just splattering it around where the embellishments are, as opposed to splattering it off the edge of the page. Now, of course, I got a big splatter on my journaling, but because there's gesso, I can just wipe it off, which is really nice. It didn't exactly wipe off in the places where there weren't gesso, so the gesso isn't all over the whole page, and so but it mostly wiped off, and I like how it looks. It's already a pretty grungy page, and that ink is very pigmented, and so just a tiny little bit, it leaves a lot of, see how when you go to wipe it up, it actually smears all over the place, but it does clean up quite nicely on that palette, so I like using that for my ink so far. So here are the close-ups of just the video close-ups, and do stay tuned and see the photos at the end, because you'll get to see where I place that little Olivia it's a little cutout from the manufacturer's strip. And I really like how this looks. I think it doesn't look terribly dated. I think it will fit in quite nicely with the other pages that I've been scrapbooking lately. And certainly it does have a lot more distressing on it, but I think that it looks great with that pop of white with the gesso, both on the background paper, but also the gesso over the patterned paper. So you'll see along the left side of that photo, I included the bar strip, and I just cut off, or the barcode, I cut off the word Olivia and the barcode, like I kept them as one piece, and then I just tucked it in over top of that unicorn die cut piece that you actually can't tell that it says unicorn, just the black piece, so that the black piece is just kind of drawing your eye to that spot, and I think you'll see it in the very last photo, if not somewhere else. I really love how this one turned out. It's so much fun, and I had a really great time challenging myself to bring some new and old elements together. So there you get to see the Olivia piece of and the barcode there over on the left side of that photo. So this has been my first process video. I'm going to do another one. Make sure you check out what Irit is doing this weekend as well. The links to all that is in the playlist that I'm linking on the video right now, and also in the information section below. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.